Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! A solitary light source in the darkness, the phone's persistent glow echoed the unwavering rhythm of the app's notifications. Each ping, a stark reminder of the countless swipes that month. A mind-numbing endeavor. As the small screen illuminated the room, it revealed a snapshot of a life. A lone figure, a scattered array of food containers, and the lingering remnants of a solitary meal. Yet another alert, an announcement of a new match, induced a familiar sense of resignation. At the age when life was supposed to flourish, days were consumed by endless scrolling, trying to stand out in a digital crowd, crafting messages that often fell on deaf ears. The dating world had transformed into a desert, where conversations evaporated and hopes faded with the ever-present reality of ghosting. And then, amidst the desolation, a new profile emerged. Victoria. Unlike most profiles with their carefully curated vacation photos and generic bios about loving travel and tacos, Victoria's profile had a certain mystery to it. A single photo showed a silhouette against a sunset, and her bio simply read, "Looking for someone willing to step outside their comfort zone." Intrigued by the departure from dating app norms, a right swipe followed. Almost immediately, the match notification appeared. The message came through faster than expected. "I don't waste time with small talk. I'll only date you if you dress feminine." Staring at the screen, reading and rereading the message, the initial reaction was confusion, followed by amusement, then curiosity. Was this some kind of joke? A scam? Or something else entirely? "What do you mean by that?" The question hung in the digital ether for several minutes before Victoria's response arrived. "Exactly what I said. I'm interested in someone who's willing to explore beyond conventional boundaries. If that's not you, no hard feelings." The phone dropped onto the couch as thoughts raced. Dating had been a string of disappointments and dead ends. Nothing seemed to work. Traditional approaches had failed consistently, leaving loneliness as a constant companion. Was this strange request worth considering, just to break the pattern? After a sleepless night filled with conflicted thoughts, morning brought a decision. The reply was simple. "I'm listening. Tell me more." Victoria explained her perspective without judgment or pressure, describing how she found beauty in fluidity and self-expression. Her words were eloquent, thoughtful, and strangely compelling. By the end of the conversation, there was an agreement to at least try this unconventional arrangement. The laptop screen glowed in the dim bedroom as various online clothing stores displayed their wares. What exactly constituted feminine clothing for someone who had only ever worn men's attire? After hours of hesitation and research, the selection was made. A simple lavender sundress and white sandals. The order was placed with trembling fingers, accompanied by a strange mix of anxiety and curiosity. The package arrived 3 days later, sitting innocuously on the doorstep in a plain brown box. It remained unopened for hours, a Schrodinger's experiment in identity. Finally, as evening approached, the tape was broken and tissue paper pushed aside to reveal the soft fabric within. The material felt lighter than expected, almost weightless compared to the jeans and button-downs that filled the closet. Holding the dress up to examine it properly, there was an unexpected appreciation for its simple elegance, the way the color seemed to shift subtly in different light, how the cut suggested rather than defined the body it would cover. Stepping into the bathroom, the transformation began slowly. The dress slipped over raised arms, settling around the body in a gentle embrace. The sandals followed, their straps wrapping delicately around ankles unused to such exposure. Looking in the mirror, the reflection was both familiar and utterly foreign.
"This is not what I expected,"
came the whispered admission to the empty room. There was something undeniably right about the way the dress flowed, how it created a silhouette that somehow felt more authentic than the boxy shirts and straight-leg pants that had been the uniform for 3 decades. A hand reached up to brush through short blonde hair, wondering if something more was needed. A text to Victoria followed. "I bought something, but I feel like it's incomplete." Her response arrived quickly. "Try a necklace, something delicate, and whatever name you choose, I'll respect it." A name hadn't even been considered, but suddenly it seemed essential, not just for this experiment, but as a key to unlock this unexpected feeling of alignment. After consideration, it emerged fully formed. Esmeralda. The name felt right. Elegant, slightly mysterious, with a hint of the exotic that had always been missing from everyday life. A quick trip to a nearby department store resulted in the purchase of a simple gold necklace with a small pendant. The saleswoman had smiled warmly, assuming it was for a girlfriend or sister. The assumption wasn't corrected. The date was set for the following evening at a quiet cafe across town, far enough from familiar neighborhoods to minimize the chance of running into acquaintances. Victoria had chosen the location carefully, describing it as a place where everyone minds their own business. Getting ready took twice as long as usual. Every movement felt deliberate and meaningful. The dress settled perfectly, the sandals were surprisingly comfortable, and the necklace added just the right finishing touch. A bit of borrowed concealer helped smooth the complexion, and a light application of tinted lip balm completed the look. The mirror reflected someone both new and familiar. Esmeralda. The cafe was tucked between a bookstore and a vintage record shop, its entrance partially obscured by potted plants. Pushing open the door revealed a cozy interior with mismatched furniture and soft lighting. Only a few patrons occupied the tables, most focused on laptops or books. No one looked up at the new arrival. Victoria sat in the corner, exactly as her more detailed profile photos had shown. Dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, sharp features softened by an expression of genuine interest. She stood as Esmeralda approached, offering a warm smile. "You look lovely," she said, her voice genuine and free of any mockery or judgment. "The lavender suits you." "Thank you," Esmeralda replied, the voice coming out softer than intended. "I've never done anything like this before." "I know. That's what makes it special." Victoria gestured to the chair opposite her. "Shall we?" The conversation flowed with surprising ease. Victoria asked thoughtful questions, listened attentively, and shared her own stories without dominating the exchange. She never once mentioned the dress or referred to Esmeralda by any other name. It was as if this had always been their reality. "How does it feel?" Victoria asked eventually, stirring her tea. "Being here like this?" "Strange," Esmeralda admitted. "But not in the way I expected. I thought I'd feel like I was wearing a costume, playing a part. But it doesn't feel like that at all." "What does it feel like?" Looking down at the lavender fabric draped across her lap, Esmeralda considered the question carefully. "It feels like I've been wearing the costume all along, and I've just taken it off." Victoria's smile deepened. "Would you like to see me again?" The answer came without hesitation. "Yes." Their second date took place at an art gallery opening, which required something more formal. Victoria had suggested something that makes you feel confident, leaving the specifics open to interpretation. After hours of online research and building courage, Esmeralda ordered an emerald green evening dress with a modest neckline and flowing skirt. When it arrived, the transformation was even more striking than the first time. The gallery was busy but not crowded, allowing them to move from exhibit to exhibit at a leisurely pace. Victoria's hand rested lightly on Esmeralda's elbow, guiding but never controlling. A few appreciative glances came their way, but none of the judgment or mockery that had been secretly feared. "You're drawing attention," Victoria whispered during a quiet moment. "People keep looking at you." "Is that bad?" Esmeralda asked, suddenly self-conscious. "Not at all. They're admiring you. The way you carry yourself in that dress. It's like you were born to wear it." The words settled into place like pieces of a puzzle, completing a picture that had been forming unconsciously. Each compliment, each moment of recognition, each instance of being seen as Esmeralda felt increasingly right. For their third date, they went to a casual outdoor concert. This time, Esmeralda chose a denim skirt and a floral top in shades of blue and white. The outfit was comfortable and practical while still embracing the feminine aesthetic that had become so important. Victoria arrived wearing similar casual attire, and together they blended perfectly into the crowd of concertgoers. As they spread a blanket on the grass and settled in to listen to the music, Victoria reached over and took Esmeralda's hand. "I've been wondering something," she said, her voice barely audible over the opening act. "What's that? Is this still just for our dates, or has it become something more for you?" The question struck at the heart of something Esmeralda had been avoiding confronting directly. The truth was, the feminine clothes had stopped coming off after dates. They had migrated from a special drawer to the main closet. The makeup that had started as minimal touches had expanded to a small but growing collection. The name that had been chosen for a single evening had started to feel like the only right one. "It's becoming who I am," Esmeralda admitted, the words both frightening and liberating. "Not just when I'm with you. All the time." Victoria squeezed her hand. "I thought so. I could see it happening. Are you scared?" "Terrified, but also relieved? Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense." The conversation marked a turning point. What had begun as an unusual request on a dating app had evolved into a journey of self-discovery. Victoria's role had shifted from instigator to supporter, from date to partner in transformation. Over the next few weeks, Esmeralda began the process of transition in earnest. The masculine clothes that had filled the closet for decades were donated, replaced by outfits that reflected her true self. Short blonde hair was allowed to grow out, styled in ways that framed her face more flatteringly. Small but meaningful changes accumulated day by day. Victoria remained a constant presence, offering guidance when asked, but never pushing. She accompanied Esmeralda to shops to build a proper wardrobe, helped her practice makeup techniques, and stood beside her for the first awkward but necessary conversations with friends. "I never expected to find someone like you," Esmeralda told her one evening as they sat in Victoria's apartment, sharing takeout and watching a movie. "Someone who could see me before I even saw myself." Victoria set down her fork and turned to face Esmeralda fully. "That's not exactly what happened. I didn't magically see something hidden. I just created a space where you could discover it for yourself." The distinction was important. Victoria hadn't created Esmeralda. She had simply provided the opportunity for her to emerge. The journey belonged to Esmeralda alone, even if she had a companion along the way. That realization brought both gratitude and a new sense of responsibility. If this was truly her path, not just an experiment or a response to someone else's request, then it was time to embrace it fully. The next steps would be more challenging: telling family, addressing workplace concerns, navigating the medical aspects of transition if that was what she decided she wanted. "I think I'm ready to tell my parents," Esmeralda said one morning over coffee. The blonde hair that had once been cropped short now reached just below her ears, softening the lines of her face. The lavender dress that had started everything had been joined by an entire wardrobe that expressed different facets of her personality. Victoria looked up from her newspaper. "Are you sure? There's no rush." "I'm sure. I've been living as Esmeralda for months now. Everyone except family knows. It feels dishonest to keep this part of myself from them any longer." The conversation with her parents was difficult, but not disastrous. There was confusion, concern, and a period of adjustment. Her mother cried, not from disappointment, but from worry about the challenges ahead. Her father was quieter, processing in his own way. But beneath the complicated emotions, there was love, strained at times, uncertain in its expression, but present nonetheless. "They didn't reject me," Esmeralda told Victoria afterward, relief evident in her voice. "They have questions, and it's going to take time, but they didn't shut me out." "That's a gift," Victoria said softly. "Not everyone gets that." The workplace transition came next. Esmeralda had been fortunate to work for a company with clear policies supporting transgender employees. Still, the practicalities were daunting: changing records, informing colleagues, navigating new social dynamics. Victoria helped her prepare talking points and rehearse responses to likely questions. Most coworkers were supportive, or at least respectful. A few struggled with the change, particularly those who had known her for years under her previous identity. But day by day, Esmeralda became the norm, the only name that appeared in emails and meeting invitations. 6 months into their relationship, Victoria proposed a weekend trip to the coast. They rented a small cottage overlooking the ocean, its windows facing west, to capture the sunset. On their first evening, they walked along the beach as the sky transformed from blue to orange to deep purple. "Do you ever think about that first message I sent you?" Victoria asked, her feet leaving prints in the damp sand. "How different things might have been if you'd just ignored it or blocked me." Esmeralda considered the question. "Sometimes. But it doesn't feel like I had a choice, looking back. Something in me was ready for that message, even if I didn't know it." "And now? Are you happy with where it led?" Stopping to look out at the horizon, Esmeralda felt the breeze against her skin, smelled the salt in the air, and heard the rhythm of the waves. She was wearing a simple white sundress with her gold necklace, her growing blonde hair tucked behind her ears. Every element of her appearance had been chosen with intention, each choice a reflection of her authentic self. "I'm happier than I've ever been," she said finally. "Not because of the clothes or the name or any external thing, but because for the first time, I'm not fighting against myself. I'm not trying to fit into a shape that was never mine." Victoria took her hand, interlacing their fingers. "That's all I ever wanted for you, to find your true shape." Their relationship continued to deepen as Esmeralda's transition progressed. They moved in together after a year, creating a home that reflected both their personalities. Victoria's career as a graphic designer complemented Esmeralda's work in software development, their schedules allowing for shared meals and weekend adventures while maintaining individual pursuits. Esmeralda's medical transition began cautiously, with thorough research and consultations with healthcare providers. Each step was taken with careful consideration, Victoria providing support without pressure. The physical changes came gradually, subtle shifts in features, softening of edges, a growing alignment between inner self and outer appearance. "I barely remember what it felt like before," Esmeralda admitted one evening as they prepared dinner together. Her blonde hair now reached her shoulders, styled in gentle waves. The blue dress she wore moved with her as she chopped vegetables, comfortable and natural. "Being Franklin seems like a dream I had, or a character I played in someone else's story." Victoria looked up from the stove, where she was stirring a sauce. "That's because it was never really you. Just a placeholder until you could find your way here." The journey hadn't been without challenges. There were still difficult days, moments of dysphoria that no amount of supportive partnership could eliminate completely. Family relationships continued to evolve, some growing stronger through the honesty, others remaining complicated. But through it all, Esmeralda maintained a sense of purpose and authenticity that had been missing from her life before. On their second anniversary, Victoria organized a surprise party, inviting friends who had been part of their journey. The gathering was held in the backyard of their home, strung with lights and filled with people who had shown unwavering support. Esmeralda wore a dress in the same shade of lavender as the one from their first date, though this one was more sophisticated in cut and styling. Her blonde hair was arranged in an elegant updo, and the gold necklace remained her favorite accessory. Looking around at the faces of friends who knew her only as Esmeralda, she felt a profound sense of belonging.
"Speech!"
someone called out as the evening progressed, raising a glass in her direction. Feeling Victoria's encouraging hand on her back, Esmeralda stepped forward, her white sandals pressing into the soft grass. The chatter died down as everyone turned to listen.
2 years ago,
she began, her voice clear and confident. "I matched with someone on a dating app. I was expecting the usual small talk, and maybe, if I was lucky, a coffee date that would lead nowhere." Laughter rippled through the group. "Instead, I got a message that changed my life. I'll only date you if you dress feminine." She paused, looking over at Victoria, who watched her with eyes full of pride and love. What seemed like an unusual request turned out to be the key that unlocked the door to my true self. Victoria didn't create Esmeralda. She was always here, waiting to be recognized. But Victoria gave her permission to exist, to step into the light, to become real. Raising her glass, Esmeralda continued. "So here's to unexpected beginnings, to lavender dresses and golden necklaces, to partners who see us more clearly than we see ourselves, and to the courage to become who we were always meant to be." The toast was met with enthusiastic agreement, glasses clinking as friends celebrated not just the anniversary, but the journey itself. As the party continued around them, Victoria pulled Esmeralda into a quiet corner of the yard. "I have something for you," she said, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a small velvet box. "It's not what you think. Or maybe it is, but not yet." Opening the box revealed not a ring, but a charm for Esmeralda's necklace. A small golden key. "For unlocking doors," Victoria explained, her voice soft. "Past ones, present ones, future ones. Whatever doors you need to open, I want to be beside you when you do." Esmeralda touched the charm gently, understanding the symbolism and the promise it contained. "Add it to my necklace?" she asked, already reaching up to unclasp it. Victoria carefully attached the key charm beside the original pendant. As she refastened the necklace around Esmeralda's neck, her fingers lingered on the clasp. "Perfect," she whispered. The party wound down as evening deepened into night. Friends departed with warm hugs and promises to meet again soon. When the last guest had gone, Esmeralda and Victoria stood together in their backyard, surrounded by the remnants of celebration. "Happy?" Victoria asked, wrapping an arm around Esmeralda's waist. Looking down at the lavender dress that echoed her first tentative step into authenticity, feeling the weight of the necklace with its new addition against her skin, Esmeralda considered the question. Happiness seemed too simple a word for the complex tapestry of emotions that made up her life now. Joy and challenge, comfort and growth, the ongoing process of becoming. Content, she decided finally, at peace with who I am, and incredibly grateful for the path that brought me here, especially the parts that seemed strangest at the time. Victoria smiled, understanding as she always did. The best journeys often start with unexpected turns. As they walked back toward their home, Esmeralda reflected on the winding road that had led to this moment. From a cryptic message on a dating app to a life reinvented. From hesitantly ordering a lavender sundress online to building a wardrobe that truly expressed her identity. From Franklin to Esmeralda. Not a costume put on, but a truth revealed. The house welcomed them back with familiar comfort. Photographs on the walls chronicled their time together. Hiking trips and holiday celebrations. Quiet evenings and milestone moments. In each image, Esmeralda appeared increasingly comfortable in her skin, her expression more open, her posture more natural. "We should add tonight's photos to the wall," Victoria suggested, scrolling through the pictures on her phone. "You look beautiful in this one." The photo showed Esmeralda mid-laugh, the lavender dress catching the light from the strings of bulbs overhead, her blonde hair slightly loosened from its updo by the evening breeze. The gold necklace gleamed at her throat, the new key charm visible if one looked closely. "I like that one," Esmeralda agreed, recognizing in her own image a person who had finally found her place in the world. "It captures exactly how I feel." Later, as they prepared for bed, Esmeralda found herself lingering in front of the mirror. The lavender dress hung carefully in the closet now, replaced by a silk nightgown. Her makeup had been removed, revealing the natural changes that hormone therapy had gradually created. The blonde hair that had been styled for the party now fell loosely around her face. Victoria appeared behind her, meeting her eyes in the reflection. "What are you thinking about so seriously?" "About identity," Esmeralda replied honestly. "About how something that seemed so fixed and immutable turned out to be fluid and evolving. About how what started as an experiment became the most authentic version of myself." "That's how truth often works," Victoria said, wrapping her arms around Esmeralda's waist.
It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It slips in quietly, through unexpected doors, and makes itself at home before you even realize it's there. As they settled into bed, Esmeralda thought about the journey ahead. There would be more challenges, more growth, more discoveries. The transition was ongoing, both physically and emotionally, but the foundation had been laid, a life built on authenticity rather than expectation, on truth rather than conformity. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness, knowing Victoria would understand all that those simple words encompassed. "For what?" came the soft reply. "For seeing possibilities I couldn't see, for that first message that seemed so strange,
for creating space for me to discover myself. Victoria's hand found hers beneath the covers, their fingers intertwining in the familiar way they had on that first concert blanket years ago. Thank you for being brave enough to respond, for trying on that first dress, for letting Esmeralda emerge and thrive. The conversation drifted into comfortable silence, the kind that exists between people who no longer need constant words to communicate. Outside their window, the world continued its rhythms. Stars wheeled slowly across the sky, winds shifted direction, tides ebbed and flowed. Inside, two lives remained connected, transformed by a journey that had begun with an unusual request and evolved into something profound and enduring. Esmeralda closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the gold necklace with its key charm against her skin, a tangible reminder of doors unlocked and thresholds crossed. The lavender dress that had started everything hung in the closet among dozens of other carefully chosen outfits, no longer novel, but still significant. Her growing blonde hair spread across the pillow, another expression of the self she had discovered and embraced. In the morning, she would wake up as she did every day now, as her true self. No more costumes, no more roles to play, no more boundaries to maintain. Just Esmeralda, in all her authentic complexity, continuing the journey that had begun with a single message. I'll only date you if you dress feminine. That request, once so strange and intimidating, now seemed like the first line of a story she had always been meant to tell. Her own.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!